Healthy sweet treats can also be delicious, and these little morsels are a shining example of that. They're super quick to put together and they keep beautifully in the freezer, so whenever you're feeling like a guilt-free little pleasure, they're on hand. And even though some of these ingredients are a little bit pricier, if you've ever seen these raw treats available for sale at the cafes, you'll realise that making them yourself is a whole lot cheaper. My daughter shared this particular recipe with me, and this is how it goes. So for this recipe, it's best to use a scale to weigh your ingredients to get the right texture, because dates and nuts and these type of ingredients can vary wildly between cups. So you either need a high-speed blender or a food processor, and the recipe calls for 230 grams of cashew nuts, but you can use any nuts you like, and what I'm using today is 150 grams of dry roasted almonds and 80 grams of pecan nuts. And here I have 115 grams of medjool dates, and just put them into the blender, remove any pips that there usually is in them. Well, there definitely is in each one. 40 grams of desiccated coconut, 1 level teaspoon of cinnamon powder, and start with 1.5 tablespoons of water. You may need to add more if it's not coming together. And I'm going to blitz this until a dough sort of forms. And halfway in between, it's a good idea just to loosen the mixture that might have got caught in the blade. And I'm just going to add a touch more water to help it along a bit. I'm going to have to swap to my food processor. Every morning I make myself a smoothie in my blender using frozen berries, and I think I've dulled the blades. And if the dough forms together like that, it's done. And most of my nuts are nice and crushed. So I have a 20 by 20 centimetre tin here, a square tin, which I've just sprayed with a little bit of oil so the baking paper will stick. And I'm just going to line it with a bit of an overhang so I can pull the slice out when it's done. And I'll just put a bit more spray oil on the sides. And either using the back of a wet spoon or clean wet hands, press this down. And you know, I find hands easier. And that is the first layer. And I'll just smooth it out so it's a little even on the bottom. And this now goes in the freezer for 30 minutes. And now I'm going to go and wash the food processor because I'll need it for the filling. So I have 300 grams of medjool dates, which I'll just remove the pips. I used to work at a cafe years ago where I made a lot of these raw sweet treats, and it's really hard to make a profit out of food, so I just used to use the ordinary pitted dates, and if they were a little bit hard, initially I'd just pour over a bit of boiling water and just rinse them in a colander, and then they were easy and pliable to work with. And then into that goes 60 mils of coconut cream, and I just buy these little coconut cream Tetra packs if I'm not using it for anything else. 225 grams of hulled tahini. You could use unhulled tahini, but I find that the hulled tahini tastes better. Unhulled tahini, my daughter tells me, is healthier. However, I find it does have a little bit of a grainier texture and perhaps a little bit of a bitter aftertaste, but this hulled tahini is perfect, and all tahini is ground sesame seeds. 45 grams of coconut oil, melted or soft like this. It's been really hot where we live, so It's melted already. Just under a teaspoon of sea salt, or in my case Celtic salt, and 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Now give that a good whiz. And I tip this mixture into a small saucepan, and if it looks a little split, don't worry, because it's all going to come together on the stove. And over a low heat, I mix this all together until a caramel starts to form and it loosens up a bit. And by warming it up gently, it just brings it all together and makes the mixture nice and smooth. But there's no need to bring it to the boil. If it's got like this, that means it's ready. And spread this lovely warm caramel over the top of the base, which has been in the freezer for half an hour. And then with the back of a wet spoon, just try and spread it as evenly as I can. And that now goes in the freezer for 30 minutes. I've just melted 100 grams of coconut oil, and then I add 55 grams of cacao powder, or you can use cocoa powder. And then lastly, 85 mils of maple syrup, and using a whisk that really well until there's no lumps in it. Then take your slice out of the freezer and the caramel will feel quite set. And I just pour this lovely chocolate topping over the top. Now, before I can cut this needs to go back into the freezer for 2 hours. And after that, it can live in the fridge. Or if you're not going to eat it all at once, you can just leave it in the freezer. So it's been in the freezer now for 2 hours, and I've just got some hot water here, which I'm just going to warm up a knife with and then just wipe it and just cut it along the edge that I didn't put baking paper, which I probably should have, you know, because it does go hard, but it will work. Now I'm going to try and get 16 pieces out of this, and being a square shape, I think I can do it. I'm usually the roughest cutter in the world. So just dipping my knife in hot water and then wiping it with a clean cloth, I'm going to cut it. Oh, it's so hot, that knife. I'm going to cut it in half. Using a warm knife won't crack the chocolate. And then in half again, both sides, so half and half. Let's have a sneak little peek. Whoa, that's looking good. Then I'll turn it around and do the same, half and half, and that will give me 16 slices. And you know, these are quite rich, as you can probably imagine, because they've got lots of dates and they've got that nutty base layer and the tahini. And if they crack a little bit, that's fine. So again, you can just store these in the refrigerator for about a week or so, or in the freezer. Now, the recipe says in the freezer for a month, but seriously, if they're sealed right, they'll last a few months in the freezer, or at least 2 months, but I'm sure they're not going to last that long. And you know, the recipe said you can cut them in 16 big ones like this, or 32 small ones. Or you can just slice yourself off a little bit when you feel like something sweet. So I've asked my daughter if she can try and track down where she found the original recipe so I can credit it properly on the website and in the video description. And you know what? You don't have to be on a health kick to enjoy this. It's just a delicious slice and perfect with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you again soon.